you have the right to remain silent. Obviously, they read that in the Miranda rights, if that's, the proper jargon for law enforcement officers. But in a courtroom, they may say something different. Every courtroom, every field, every industry has its own jargon in order to get words or a message across, either to the referee, the judge, or whomever is listening that has studied and has been attentive. Now, let's move forward. Point 3. What about in magic, right? So you hear words like, when you see people like David Blaine, Criss Angel, or when kids are experimenting with magic, they'll say words like bravo or voila or abracadabra, right? But if you look at the word abracadabra and you look at where its origin comes from, well, it means I will create with what I speak, right? And if you understand that, you will understand the origins, where it comes from, and then, of course, well, what did the magicians and mages actually mean when they would say abracadabra, so on and so forth, or enunciate it a different way, right? It means that they were probably going to create something that they told you about, right? So I'm going to do this, etc., abracadabra, and now all of a sudden the rabbit is under the hat or in the hat or so on and so forth, or it disappeared, right? In the Matrix, you want to follow the white rabbit, right? Just like a magic trick, right? The white rabbit appears, you now wonder how that rabbit got there, then it disappears, and you trying to figure out during the whole show, where did the rabbit go? And then, of course, it pops up later on. Let's continue. What about in law enforcement? So in law enforcement, you have radio chatter, and radio chatter would be something like 10-4 or 10, what's my 20, etc., meaning what's my location, or 10-4, meaning I understood, or hua, or roger, or copy, etc. All those words actually mean something. It's not just something that you can use to sound cool because you play too much Call of Duty, or you hung around too many military people, learned a little bit of jargon, and now you want to say stuff like, oh, I'm in rear with the gear, or so on and so forth. It's very interesting because sometimes people don't always understand the words that are coming out of their mouth when they're speaking to certain individuals. Funny story. There was apparently a video that circulated because a law enforcement officer told a Marine or a soldier, someone in the military, to cover them. See, cover for us means something completely different. The military personnel ended up taking out everybody that was an enemy, and the cop looked at him and said, I said cover me, not kill everybody. Well, the term means something different, right? See, in the military, cover me means, well, take out anybody that's trying to shoot me, etc., because it's a hazardous environment. See, in different types of areas, such as local law enforcement, it means make sure nobody shoots me and cause enough distraction and try not to kill anybody, right? Reason being is because you can't get information out of dead people. So you want to keep as many people alive so that you can get as much information as possible in order to solve the problem at hand. All right? Next point. What about in the military? And as you know, I use notes, so I have a little outline here, so on and so forth, just to give me little bullets to, go in a certain order so that people understand stuff, so I could line stuff up perfectly, right? So what about in the military? Obviously, you heard me say Roger earlier. What about copy? What about simplify? What about, what are the other ones? Hua, right? If you saw the movie with Matthew McConaughey, one of the bridesmaids, if I remember correctly, the father-in-law or the father was former military. He would say hua, and the daughters and the ladies would say that stood for heard, understood, recognized, and acknowledged, which makes perfect sense, right? But in essence, people only know what you tell them. So if you tell them hoorah,